Okay. Aloha, everybody. I'm Kimo Hussey, and we're here today to do another one of a series of videos that we like to do. And the purpose of these videos is simply to share ukulele. We are a bunch of friends, and our number one priority with ukulele is to have fun. But in addition to that, we formed a group and called it, this is a Facebook group called Manao Ukulele. And we consider ourselves to be connectors as opposed to an organization that runs things and puts on programs. So as connectors, all we try to do is to connect people or connect a person with an organization that can help that person in whatever he or she may want to be doing with regard to ukulele. We do have some people with us today, and they're checking out how we do this video because we're getting ready to do another session on strings, and then maybe another one beyond that on canard ukuleles. So, I want to get right to it. The purpose of today's session is to introduce you to this instrument.
Wow.
One of the people who is with us today is uh, uh, Laurel Bennett. Laurel, wave your hand so we know who you are.
Aloha,
Yay! Okay.
aloha.
Um, Laurel was in the process of maybe sending one of her ukuleles to Oahu to sell that ukulele. And that's how I met her because I had recently moved to Kauai, and a friend of mine wrote to me and told me that Laurel enjoys ukulele. So I went to call her up, introduced myself, invited myself down to her house so we could do a little bit of jamming. So one of the instruments that she had was Laurel. Show us your instrument. And while she's doing that, I'll again show you mine, and you can see that they're very, very similar. The way I really like, well, first of all, going to Laurel's house and being exposed to that instrument is how I found out about it. And within within two or three strums after I first played it, I decided that I needed to have one of these. So, long story short, I found out from Laurel that the instrument was made by Jonathan Mann. Jonathan, give us a wave, buddy. Okay. Um, and so I contacted Jonathan and told him that I wanted to order one of these. And while I was waiting for Jonathan to finish my instrument, I borrowed I borrowed Laurel's instrument a lot and got to be very, very familiar with the instrument. And I like it very much. And so we thought that what we do is have Jonathan come on this video session to tell us about his instrument. One other thing before we begin with Jonathan, and that is the way we do these recordings is to record this session like we do now and not invite the general public to it, because if we invite the general public to just one session, trying to control everybody in terms of comments or questions they might have is a little bit difficult. So what we do, like we do this one, is to record the session and then show it afterwards, and then people can contact, in this case, Jonathan directly, or contact us if they have any questions or comments about the instruments. Okay, so enough from me. Jonathan, wonder if we might get you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then tell us about your instrument.
Okay. Well, my name is Jonathan Mann, like you said. I'm a luthier here in Tennessee. I'm just out of Nashville, in a town, Clarksville, Tennessee, northwest of Nashville. Um, I've been building instruments roughly close to 20 years. Started out, I've been a musician all my life. My father was a fiddle player, so he taught me how to play when I was like 8 years old. So he would have somebody to back him up on fiddle. So I was raised on kind of bluegrass and old time music and that kind of stuff. And uh, so when I got old enough to in high school, middle school, my brother and I started a rock and roll band. So we kind of went a different direction than my father. But anyway, I played rock and roll music through high school and college, and then got into folk music and back into bluegrass, actually, and country and jazz and all kinds of things. And played for a living most of my life. Actually, from the time I was 20 to the time I was 40. So 20 years I played for a living, mostly in Florida and around the South. Um, and then I'm started coming to Nashville, trying to, didn't really want to be an artist, but I wanted to be a songwriter. So I came to Nashville and was lucky enough to land a songwriting deal, and ended up moving to Nashville back in '95. And I loved writing songs and loved the atmosphere with the musicians and everything in Nashville. But when it came down to it, I couldn't stand the business end because it's a crazy business here and in the songwriting business. So after about 3 or 4 years of it, I gave it up, and was starting a family late, so I didn't want to go on the road and play. So I had to find another way to make money. So I always played around with woodworking. I love working on instruments, so I just slowly started going in that direction. I became a guitar tech, and I actually worked at a music store for about 10 years here in Nashville, or over in Nashville, and was guitar tech, and that kind of got me in my gears moving towards building. And then I built anything from dulcimers and started building mandolins. So that came in handy with my name being Mann. So I started making mandolins and a few guitars. And the more I built, the less I had time to work. So it worked out good that the store let me go to part time, and I went a little more full time on the building. And eventually I quit my day job and went full time building. That was probably 15, 16 years ago, and been doing it full time ever since. And I build everything from, actually, I only build electric instruments now. I used to build acoustic mandolins, mandolas, mandocellos, all that kind of stuff, but and acoustic guitars. But uh, the electric instruments just seem to sell a lot better than my acoustic. So I just kind of went where the money took me, and where the orders led me, and that seemed to be mostly electric instruments. A lot of electric mandolins, a lot of oddball things. I kind of always find these little niches that nobody else is doing, like 5-string electric mandolins and electric octave mandolins with 5 strings, or things like that. And then actually the electric ukulele, excuse me, I'm a Southerner.
You did great, buddy.
They came in with one of my electric mandolin customers was also an ukulele player. He was down in Texas, and he emailed me and asked if I could make a tenor ukulele based on his existing electric mandolin. And I said, yeah, that's pretty simple. Just change the scale length and neck width and this and that, a couple of little things. And
And that was going to be, was that going to be an electric ukulele?
Yes, actually a solid body, and it's on my YouTube channel. Uh, it's a little blue double cutaway, looks kind of like a little Paul Reed Smith, a real bright blue, and it worked out really well. And I made that video of it, and within 6 months, that video had quadrupled any of my other videos on hits, just because ukulele was so hot at the time. This is probably at least 10 years ago, maybe 12. So,
It's still pretty popular.
oh yeah. And so, it's a lot bigger market than electric 5-string mandolins. so, so I was just kind of watching the video numbers, and every time I post a electric uke, it would just immediately surpass anything I had. So I thought, well, maybe I need to concentrate on that a little more. So, and actually, this instrument uh, was a customer request. That this model, a guy in California who was looking for
A baritone uke.
a baritone uke, but he wanted it to kind of look like more like an old Gretsch type hollow body or something like that. And I said, well, let's see what we can come up with. So
Ah,
that
so that's
that's
how that started.
that's how that started. And another little funny aside is that's kind of where the name came from, the Raptor. If you notice on my website, all my other instruments are like an EM5 or an electric mandolin 5-string, or like a SEM4 with it kind of acronyms. That's solid electric mandolin 4-string. And then you have out of the blue the Raptor. It's like the only one I have that has a real name. And
How'd you come up with the name Raptor?
well, that's the funny part. This guy that ordered it, um, he wanted to do some bartering, and I'm all about you know making a
Bartering.
deal. Yeah, bartering. I love bartering. I've done lots of traded time and parts and instruments and all kinds of stuff. But I said, well, what do you have that you want to barter? And he says, well, he was a professional uh, kayak fisherman. He actually not professional fisherman, but he did a what do you call it? He would give lessons and tours, fishing tours, and they fished. I think he's in San Diego or somewhere, but he would they would fish off of kayaks. And I've always been into outdoors, and actually was in the market for a new kayak at the time. And so he sent me information on what he had. Evidently, he had access to these kayaks, and they're really high end uh, fishing kayaks. And the one he wanted to trade me was called the Raptor.
Oh,
So, it's kind of through our emails, like we emailed back and forth. With his being a new instrument, we had a lot more emails going back and forth,
right.
and we finally just started calling it the Raptor because that's what he was
Cool.
kind of turning it into. As so it that's where
Jo-
the name came from, and it just stuck. So
Jonathan, is that a raptor behind you on the wall?
um, yes, that one right there.
Yeah. Would you mind grabbing that and
Sure.
using it to describe your instrument for us?
This one's actually been hanging on the wall. Actually, this is a Raptor, but it's not a Raptor ukulele. That's how close they are. This is actually a 4-string octave mandolin. And the only difference actually is the width of the nut. this is a 1 1/4 inch nut width.
Right.
Yours is 1 3/8, just standard ukulele nut width.
So
Okay.
Jonathan, are they braced any different for using it as a mandolin because they're under a lot more pressure?
No,
Stress?
actually, this is a semi-hollow, like both Laurels and Chemos.
Uh-huh.
So the way I make it, of course, you see the neck through.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I might would it benefit to give you a quick rundown of how it goes together.
It's up to chemo.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Go
Wow.
ahead.
Well, I make the neck first of all, glue it all up. They're all 3-piece necks. Actually glue on the peghead veneer and the ears and all that, and I get it's squared out. Then I glue on what I call the wings, the back. Then after I get that on and leveled up, I actually hollow out. Even on the semi-hollows, I hollow it completely out.
Wow.
Then on the hollow bodies, they're left completely hollow, and I do brace them. I X-brace them.
Okay.
On the semi-hollows, I put another mahogany piece of wood right under the bridge. It's about 2 inches by 4 inches,
Right.
and that connects the back and the top, and that gives these screws that hold the bridge as anchors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like a in the guitar world, it's more like an ES335 tone wise, because it's got a little bit of volume acoustically,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not quite as much as a hollow body would, and there's no tension on the top that way. It's all secured right there.
And is your preferred wood maple for that build typically, as far as carving and things?
Actually, on the back, it's mahogany.
Okay.
The necks are almost always maple. I have done a few mahogany or rosewood necks.
Mhm.
I like maple. Maple is just one of my favorite woods. It's number one. It's very sustainable. It's everywhere, and we're not going to run out of maple for a long time.
Right.
And it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
the best bang for the buck in my book is
Nice.
like curly maple.
Yeah.
And so this is a little more of a quilt maple. But I like on a lot of acoustic instrument mandolins and things where you use spruce on the top.
Okay.
It's not necessary to have a soft tone wood for the top of these. So the maple works well. Soft maple, like curly maple, is still a softer wood. It's
Mhm.
not a real hard wood. But to me, it's a lot aesthetics. I
Right.
like having the bling on the top, so you can
Right. Right.
so they look
Beautiful.
good.
Beautiful.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jonathan, what's the reason for hollowing out the wings as opposed to leaving it solid?
you get a little more resonance. It's once again, it's like it's in the guitar world. A lot of people, I'm just used to using that as a reference because a lot of people play guitar and they not kind of know what a Les Paul sounds like compared to an ES335, like a BB King style guitar, where it's a semi-hollow like this, where Les Paul is all solid, and it's just, for lack of a better word, the all solid is a little more electric sounding. It's maybe a hair more sustained, but I really don't hear any difference in the shorter instruments. In guitars, I can tell the difference between a semi-hollow and a solid body, but in these short instruments, they all sustain well, even semi-hollow. But it gives you a little more resonance, a little more warmth. Not quite as hard sounding as the full solid body.
And what kind of scale length is typically used on the ukulele versus the mandolin there?
Well, the octave mandolin and the baritone
The
are
same, 20 inch.
the same. Yeah, 20
Yeah,
inch.
yeah, yeah.
I do them in 19 also.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
a preference, especially on the mandolins, because the mandolin, well, the other difference other than the nut width is string gauges, of course, because they're fatter strings to get that low G sound. And some people want to bend their strings and play
Yeah,
more rock, and some people want, so they would make one a 19-inch scale because it's
yeah,
a little more relaxed.
right.
Or if they're strumming more and want that tension to strum to, they might want the 19 to tighten
Got
it up a bit.
got it.
I wonder if I might take about 2 or 3 minutes, Jonathan, and tell you uh, um, what it is about your instrument that I really like.
Sure, I always like hearing that.
Well, you know, we're ukulele people, so uh, let me tell you first of all that I put this instrument in the category of different sounds. A lot of people, a lot of ukulele people, I should say, think that the major decision they need to make with regard to their preference of instrument is whether or not that instrument is tuned high G or low G. Uh, but you know, as players and musicians, we would never ever think of playing just one or two songs, and that's all the songs we'd ever play. You know, in as
Right.
we enjoy music, and so I think it's the same thing with ukulele because one of the things I like to do is to play ukuleles that have different sounds. And it's not a matter of good or bad because there's no such thing as the ultimate instrument.
Right.
And every time I thought I found it, about 2 3 months after I played it, I decided that I needed to continue the search. Relevant to this specific ukulele, um, I love the sound. With regard to a guitar like you have over your right shoulder, I associate that sound with this instrument, except for one change. When normally when people play a guitar that's shaped like this, they're using a flat pick,
Hmm.
and I like to use just fleshy fingers. I've always preferred just fleshy fingers, and I think
Right.
my ears tell me that the sound with a pick and the sound with fleshy fingers are different, and so it's something that I really enjoy about playing your instrument. The other thing I really like about this instrument is the sustain. And I would imagine that the electrical part of it has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
But one of the things about an acoustic ukulele is that, relatively speaking, it's a percussive instrument that doesn't have a whole lot of sustain. But this has a lot, and I really enjoy it, and it adds or it can add a different dimension to the music. The other thing I really love about this ukulele is the range. Um, and it's not only a matter of reach. Range means you can get up here and have the chords sound good. For example, if I play this D, can you hear that?
Hmm. Yep.
If I play that and I get up here, and this up here is one octave above this, which is incredible. And to have this much sonority up there is wonderful.
Yeah.
Coupled with that, and I'm sure this has to do with the build or the steel strings, whatever. But the action on this instrument is feather light, and I really enjoy that. I've played some other steel string ukuleles, and every single one of them after a while hurts my fingers because I'm not used to that. But I don't know why this ukulele has never hurt me. So basically, I like the sustain. I like the sustain. I like the action, and I love the sound. And I can't wait. I can't wait to go even darker on the dark side and start fooling around with these amplifiers, and you get
Yeah.
really, really different sounds. I think the ukulele world will would enjoy this ukulele very much because it's so different. Laurel, I wonder if you might tell us your about your history with this ukulele and why you like it, or even why you bought it.
Well, I think I have the same belief in as your rule of thumb. Yeah, you need one more ukulele than what you already have.
Absolutely, it's a
So I have.
perpetual thing.
You told me that last week, and I rung a bell. And so I have, yeah, I have another one coming in today. But
Oh,
I play I grew up in Hawaii, so I started playing ukulele since I was probably 5. And then I moved on to playing guitar. And like Jonathan, played the rock and roll thing, got into blues and rhythm and blues. Then I stopped playing for decades. And when I picked it up again, I happened to be going by a ukulele store in a rainstorm, and I stopped by, and I left there with an ukulele, and I didn't put that down, and so I taught myself, and that's how I started playing the 4 strings again. I still play the 6 on occasion and back and forth. As to this one, I um, I enjoy the baritone sound, and I'm like you, Kimo. I'm a finger picker, but I also learned to play rock and roll and blues using a pick or not. Although I can do a Delta blues finger picking, which is a lot like slack key. Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, as to this ukulele, I was playing baritone ukulele with various bands, and I decided I wanted an electric, and I found Jonathan's, and picked it up, and I was actually playing mine as lead guitar in a rock band for a couple of years. And and you can crank that thing out. And
Absolutely.
I found that playing it, I have close relationships with bass players. They really like me. I don't get in their way because I don't have those bottom 2 strings. So together, I thought we were creating harmonies I thought were real interesting. I have different inversions than that I use on the 4 string from the 6, as you know. So we really have different harmonies. Um, so that's how I started with your instrument, and now Kimo introduced me to it in a different way of playing it, without the pick. And I'm a finger picker, and I can't seem to keep fingernails, so I don't have a choice with that. So I use, the pads of my fingers, and with a lot of thumb bass lines with the finger picking, the melody over the top with my other strings, my other fingers rather.
Great.
So that's kind of how it happened. And then Kimo met my instrument, and
And
and I
hardly
told
gave
him,
it
oh,
back.
and you went to the dark side. I told him you went to the dark side. People won't understand that.
Lori, are you in Kauai also?
I
Yeah,
am.
you
I am in
are?
Hawaii, yeah, and lately Kimo and I play kind of capilla. It's he and I and a bass player who's now been introduced to the U bass,
Uh-huh.
and he's playing a fretless U bass, Kala U bass,
Nice.
and Kimo and I play the baritones. Lately I've been playing acoustic baritone, and Kimo, well, you play everything, but it's I think a really nice blend of sounds the 3 of us have. It's a different.
Do you by chance play with Deb Pate by chance? Do you know Deb? She's involved with the uke community on Kauai. Deborah Pate.
No, I don't.
Yeah, she was at our event, Chemo, if you recall, when we had our family picnic a couple of years back. So, but she has a place over in Kauai. I just wondered if maybe
Oh,
because you guys play locally there, and she does too. So I didn't know if you knew her or not. So
oh,
I'd like to meet.
I'd love
yeah,
to connect. We'd love to connect. That would be great.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. So
That'd
Cool.
be great. we're
Okay.
welcome. We play kind of capilla, without
Yeah.
charts and sit down and usually play jazz swing numbers, but it
Wow.
kind of goes anywhere.
Nice.
And
Great.
someone just starts and we kind of jump in
Yeah.
as best we can. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to keep up.
And you do a good job with that, Laurel. Thank you. Thank you so
Well,
much. I want to go back to Jonathan real quick, Jonathan, and say that um, what can we as ukulele players do to help share your ukulele? I've already started sharing your ukulele with some friends who were visiting from Washington State, and the response was very positive. But from your standpoint, what kinds of things or activity do you think would best share your ukulele?
Hmm, that's a good question.
If you want to think about it, you can send me an email later, buddy.
I will. I was going to
Okay.
say YouTube is, I've found YouTube to be my number one favorite place to, as far as advertise. I don't really advertise. I haven't actually had to advertise since I started building. I've been so lucky to find people find me, and it's usually through YouTube, and then they find my website from YouTube. But
Got it.
another, if you got time for a quick little story, just how I found that was my nephew. He was wanting to be an amplifier builder, and he was always watching these amplifier videos on YouTube. And when I started building instruments, he said, "You know what you ought to do is do these little 3-minute infomercials and put them on YouTube. Just show everybody what it does."
Got it.
And sure enough, I mean, that was
Great.
the biggest thing that kind of helped me take off.
Yeah. Jonathan, can you tell us real quick how to get to your website, buddy?
It is www.manndolins with two N's, MANNDOLINS.com.
Okay. Manndolin.com. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so we've used a lot of our time, but we still have a few minutes. I wonder if we might leave a few minutes for some questions from you guys, and we'll start with you, Randy, because you had one. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I think I might have a couple questions, but actually, I think that I've got a request is before I ask my questions, if you'd play a song on that uke.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can highlight the sound right now and the look.
I think this uke's strongest voice is exemplified in jazz. So I'll play a little bit jazzy tune.
What kind of strings are those? Because I mean, I can easily see there being strings on there would be very uncomfortable to play the way you play, and it must be some, soft, light tension somehow. And I'm just curious what those strings
They
are.
they are um, actually electric guitar strings. Saying they're, I like Diodario brand, but on the baritone, it works out real well. I use a set. It's called EXL 110. They're round wound, nickel wound, ball end, just the same thing I used to use on my Stratocaster. We always called them tens because the first string is a 10. But I use the middle four strings, which is a 36, 26, 17, and a 13. And they work perfect. Tensions are just right. Another thing you can do if you don't like the string zippy noise when you're moving, I like Diodario chromes, which are in the same gauges, which are the flat wound steel strings. They're a little smoother, a little more mellow. Actually, Chemo, you might like those. They're a good jazz string.
Yeah, one of the things I've always preferred with ukuleles is is the wound string. I guess it's because I've become very accustomed to that.
Yeah,
The zippy noise doesn't bother me,
yeah.
and
It
you
never
you
bothered
can
me
play
either.
out a lot of that.
Hmm.
And the other question, Chemo, is what took you so long to get here? Because obviously you've talked about going to the dark side, and obviously you have a history of all acoustic instruments. But why haven't you looked at it closer in the past?
You mean why haven't I looked at this closer in the past?
Yeah, why haven't you looked at an electric type of situation that you might enjoy prior to now, and it's always been the dark side?
Um, I have nothing against electrics, save for the fact that I don't know any other single entity that, in my mind, has ruined good music more than bad sound. And um, we are about quality in instruments. So if you take a quality instrument and and run it through a sound system that is not high quality, that is poor, or the operator only knows how to turn it on and turn the volume up, until it distorts. And I can't think of any other reason why. I haven't gotten to electric sooner. When I was in high school, I had this big Fender reverb vibrato, whatever it was, and for a while played guitar. But once I got seriously into ukulele, it has always been acoustic, and I think um, uh, an acoustic sound for an acoustic instrument is its very best voice.
You just had
There.
to get one in your hands, and the right one in your hands, and here you are.
Yeah, and I'm really thrilled with this instrument because it gives ukulele players an alternative. One of the things that Laurel mentioned was was that I said, hey, you know what? We always need at least one more ukulele than what we have, and I kind of say that in jest, uh, but on the other hand, I truly believe that just because you want and or I should say need another ukulele doesn't necessarily mean that you get it. To me, it's just like learning a new song. We keep learning different songs because they all have different sounds. Well, why not with ukulele? And so I believe absolutely we always need to have at least one more ukulele than what we have in the inventory.
That's, I agree. They're like tools in your toolbox.
Mhm.
You
Club
need,
shaped golf bag.
Absolutely.
I've got one, two, three electric guitars. I've got probably, and I don't have many instruments, but I have a handful of acoustics. I have my double O that I like for finger picking. I've got, my jazz arch top. I've got my Django guitar. I've got a bluegrass guitar. So you got to have the right tool for the right job. And this is just another tool.
Okay. Do any of you have any other questions?
Well, the only question I would have is I would love to have a beer with Jonathan one day and hear his Guy Clark stories if he was a singer-songwriter in Nashville. Do you have any good Guy Clark stories?
I don't. Unfortunately, I've never met Guy. I've met quite a few writers in town, but and oddly enough, I met more musicians, stars, writers, etc. in my guitar tech job than I did
Oh, did you? Yeah.
in anything else. I mean, I met quite a few writers writing, but it was amazing how many people need their guitars worked on. So
That's right. Beautiful instruments. They look great and they sounded awesome in Chemo's hands. So
yeah,
thank you for
it's
sharing.
wonderful. Thank you. It's great to hear somebody like Chemo playing these. It makes me proud.
Jonathan, that day will come when we get to visit, and we do that. We're going to take some videos so you can tell your friends that you have gone over to the dark side.
All right.
Okay, if there are no more questions, again we do this on behalf of Manao Ukulele, and if any of you out there have any questions that you would like to ask any of us or Jonathan, please let us know.
Thank you so much.